Okay, so we just had the introduction to the sort of longer version of the Red Pine meditation. We're going to go into the full meditation here. We're going to start again real quick, just double checking the posture. Head up, chin in, shoulders over the hips, crown of the head over the perineum or the bai hui over the hui yin. If you're sitting up, making sure the hips are kind of above the knees. Again, I'm just trying to have some light calming music here, maybe to try and counteract some of the sort of ambient noises around, and we don't want to pass judgment on those noises or our thoughts. We just want to breathe nice and easy. Again, with the lower dantian, nice and easy with the lower dantian. When we breathe in, inhale, breathe out, release back into the spine. We're going to inhale and inflate forward. Exhale, release back into the spine. Good. So we're going to start here. At the very crown of the head. Just release if you need to use a visualization of light or a knot untying, or again ice melting. Whatever you need to let that sort of open up and go. I tend been able to sort of develop just sort of telling the area to release. That might work for some people as well. Maybe you think of clouds parting. But just the crown of the head right now. Nice and easy breathing. We want the inhale and the exhale to be even. So if you inhale for a count of 3, you exhale for a count of 3. Something to pay attention to when you're doing stay and return meditation as well. Sometimes some people are sort of lopsided with it. They can inhale sort of deeper and their exhale sort of dumps out, or they have a hard time inhaling but they can exhale for a long time. I'm of the former. I seem to be able to inhale pretty well, but my exhale seems sometimes kind of shallow. So is the crown of the head nice and relaxed. So as I call out maybe specific points, that's also going to mean that the areas surrounding them are also going to be things that we want to start to release. So it looks a little weird because of the way I have my laptop set up. It almost sort of looks like I'm sticking my chin out and everything. It's just the sort of angle of the camera here. We don't want the chin to stick out. We're going to go from the very crown of the head. I'm going to inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to bring it down the center of my head and in front to between my eyebrows. So that's sort of third eye point. Behind that, sort of in the skull and into the brain, the Taoists sort of call that the mud ball cavity, and behind there would be the famous or infamous pineal gland would be. So again, we're kind of going to try to relax that just area, which is also going to include the forehead. If you're like me and have had perennial bad sinuses for like your whole life, and allergies and things like this might help provide some relief. Also, when we get into the next part in the eyes, that can help with that too. You can't inflate a deviating septum, unfortunately, but it can help give some relief. Again, some places are going to get a little bit more attention than others. So speaking of the eyes, we're going to go breathe in. And we're going to go into both eyes, not even just the eyes, but even where they attach in with the optic nerve. And again, this can give some other relief into the sinus cavities that reach down below the eyes. If it's a little weird or a little creepy, just do your best with it. Again, it doesn't have to be super perfect. The first time you're doing anything like this, things might get a little weird. It's okay. If something's a little uncomfortable, try and release those 4 conditions we talked about: strength, tension, pressure, something not right. And keep going. I'm going to breathe in. And we're going to split off back into the ears. Now, not the little cartilage things that stick out of our heads, but the actual ear canal in the head. There might be some places like the shoulders or the upper back or the lower back, or even into the hips or into the chest or something like that. That when release, you might start feeling things pop up or pop out. Not just relaxing, but other emotional things or emotions can build in blockages throughout different places in the body. And when those release, those might release in a variety of ways. You might start crying, you might start laughing. That's okay. Just let yourself feel whatever it is until it's sort of drained out. We're going to go from the ears. We're going to breathe in. And we're going to go up into the temples. So both sides still were split. Sort of the tension's a little split. We're going to go into the temples, so the sides of the head. Temples are these places here, like to the side, a little bit up from the eyes and forehead. We want to relax those and even use the sides of the head with that too, so the top and sides of our head are going to be relaxed. As you release things, you might feel a couple of different almost temperature changes in your body. If it feels really warm, like some warm water has been poured in or something like that, that's good. That means you've got energy moving through that. This is, by and large. If something feels cold, it might be a couple of things. Usually, again, these are sort of generalizations. Things might differ on the individual. But if something feels like cold, but it's like kind of clammy cold, like a weird fog or something like that, that might be something maybe you want to pay attention to about. Maybe there's an injury, something along those lines. But if it feels cool, but it feels like it's moving and it feels like refreshing and effervescent, energetic, like those fresh winter mint sort of gum commercials or something like that. That could mean that you released a blockage. That's awesome. So from the temples, we're going to breathe in, and we're going to follow the jawline down the head. So the jawline on both sides. And we're going to come down the jawline and meet here at the chin and under the lip. So if memory serves, that is the transition point of the Ren and Du channels. The Ren being front, the Du coming up the back, the spine through the crown of the head. And we go from that point, and then we go above the upper lip. So that little, whatever this thing here is called, between the nose and the lip. Like I said in this sort of preview intro for this one's going to get more sort of detailed than the previous one. So from there, we're going to go in the center of the palate. So the roof of the mouth. We're going to go right into the center of that. So we're going to go from the roof of the mouth. We're going to swallow it now, and we're going to come down the throat, right down the throat, till the clavicles or the collarbones meet and then sort of dip. And there's that hollow there at the bottom of the throat, the jugular notch. So we're going to imagine that we're going to kind of swallow that, and as we come down, that throat, we're going to just relax it, almost like warm soup or warm tea is coming down, relaxing that throat area, meeting here at the jugular notch, and allowing that to relax. So that whole sort of front part of the neck, and in that sort of hollow part here with the clavicle, we can start to relax as well. So we're going to go from here, we're going to go to the point where the spine meets the skull. And in that sort of insertion point of the cervical vertebrae being the vertebrae of the neck, into the skull, right next to it, it's sort of what's called the two gates. Now on my head, I have almost like two bumps right next to it, and you can almost feel where the muscles and tendons that surround the cervical vertebrae of the neck reach in, and that's where we want to go. It's sort of like the gates. So that hollow point in through there the back of the skull. Now, of course, that means we're also relaxing the back of the head too. So that whole skull, the whole head's going to be in that sort of relaxed state. And we're going to take a few breaths here in with that gate area. Again, the neck, traps, upper back, major place for a lot of tension to get stored. Try to do this late enough to circumvent some other sounds. If you hear anything through here, or at your own place of practice, wherever you're doing this, it's almost like the sounds go in one ear and out the other. Same with the thoughts. Sort of focus one eye in at the dantian to keep your energy lowered and focused and your breathing correct. And focus moment to moment on where we're relaxing and how to release those four conditions. Source of tension, headaches here sometimes. So from there we're going to walk down. Now as we walk down the cervical vertebrae, I remember there are 24 vertebrae total. I forget how many are in the neck exactly, and I apologize for that. That's on me. It's like 5 or 6. There we have vertebra bone, and then a disc. And those alternate. We also have those muscles and tendons and ligaments on both sides of the cervical vertebrae. And as we walk down each of the vertebrae, kind of think of stepping down a ladder very carefully. And you can also feel in between where the discs are and try and get those to relax as well. And then tendons and ligaments on both sides. Sort of slide down with your stair step of the spine. Yeah, it's nice. Looks like I needed that one. There's that little bump at the bottom of that there, which will be the cervical notch, I believe. And we're just going to hold there for a moment. So from the bottom of the neck, we're going to ride the trapezius muscles down into the shoulders. Now the traps aren't just this sort of bit here that goes from neck to shoulder. There's actually a part that runs down this sort of, if this is my back, that from here sort of down, and the rhomboids kind of go over and across, but on the back. Or kind of dip down a little bit, but definitely sort of come down. And then, like we did with the jawline, move through the traps into the shoulders. Now again, when we go into the shoulders, we're going in to the ball and socket joint. the anterior, median, and posterior deltoid are all going to relax through that sort of radiant relaxation and release as you go into the actual joint itself. But we're going to slowly melt down through the traps first. If you are doing this lying down, I do suggest having a pillow so as not to sort of put any undue sort of crunching pressure there on the cervical vertebrae, because your head can kind of go down and create sort of a crunch with that. But you don't want to have it so much where it's, kind of bending your neck kind of out of joint as well. You still want to have a straight posture where the crown of your head and your perineum are still lined up, even if it's horizontally. There's the Hara line that goes through those 2 points I liken to the axle of a car. So if you flip a car kind of on its side, each tire is connected and has got that axle that goes from one to the other. If that gets bent or anything, the wheels can't operate appropriately. Well, that's what we kind of have with those 2 points. And whether you use the sort of Chinese Taoist 3 dantians, or you use the more sort of Indian or even Reiki 7 chakras, or that's at least into the body. There are the main ones in there through that. They all reside running down the inside center of the body like a string of pearls, and keeping that neck straight, and that alignment from the shoulders and the hips and the crown to the perineum is going to help those be in line. So as we've relaxed in through the traps and the neck, that can help you maybe make a readjustment to extend the neck up, like we're still again pulling the crown like a marionette or a little biology skeleton. That should help extend the spine and lift the spine up. As we relax into the shoulders, that can help kind of give that final release. Again, that whole, all the 3 parts of the deltoid around the joint. We're relaxing with that radiant relaxation as we focus there in on the joint as well. We're going to kind of run our intention almost like it's through the bone marrow. It sounds weird, I know. But we want to run it through the bone marrow. And this one of the reasons is this: it helps as you kind of radiate that relaxation, that release through it. Not only is it going to stimulate some healthier blood production, but it's also going to help release. You've got the big biceps and triceps and deltoids and pectorals and latissimus dorsi, but there's a lot of smaller sort of muscles and ligaments and tendons and all this other stuff that we want to release and relax as we go through those as well. It's all the fine little detailing fascia and everything else like that. We're trying to release as well, because a lot of the times with a lot of stretching, a lot of other relaxation, the deeper stuff doesn't really get hit. Even with a lot of massage, it's just sort of like, oh, this is nice, and we just sort of rub this here, versus the person hand standing on your back with their elbows driving your scapula through your chest or anything. They're deep sort of stuff we want to try and get as well. So we go from the shoulders through the humerus bone, which is why the elbow is called the funny bone. So we're going to go from the shoulder to the elbow. So the bicep on the top, the triceps on the bottom. As we run through, we got a humeral artery. It's an important little thing in there. A lot of pressure points. A lot of points for acupressure and puncture in a lot of these areas. But we're relaxing that whole area as we're running down the bones, both sides, in with this. So as I call out this too, this is an important thing to note. I'm not just calling out one side or the other. I'm calling both sides now. At the same time, the arms and the legs are going to mirror each other. And when I call through this, I'm talking about both sides of the body. And when we get to the elbow, we're going to do the first of the sort of 4 square points. So we're going to do the interior sort of bend of the elbow and 4 points. 2 above the joint, 2 below the joint on both sides. 2 above, 2 below, and we're on the inside sort of pit of it right now. Might seem a little weird at first. And again, if you're not feeling 4 distinct points, but you're doing your best to get those areas to relax, it's fine. It took me a long time to be able to start feeling distinct points like that. Not just sort of relaxing through big areas, but actually sort of more fine-tuning your awareness. It takes a while to do, especially if you're me. There's a lot in this that's sort of as cheesy as it is, that if I can do it, you can do it sort of thing too. So from that elbow pit, we're going to go to sort of like the outside elbow part. But again, so we have the bony protrusion, and you have all that little hollow areas. And this actually kind of hurts if you hit it right. And not even just bang it, but actually like pressure point sort of stuff. But we want to do 2 above, 2 points below. Both sides, 2 above, 2 below. Boy, I really hope this microphone's working right. And now we let that go too. Again, and that's if you have a big release of tension, there might even be where now something kind of moves in almost what feels like an uncontrollable sort of way, and that's okay too. Just let it play out. Don't try and fight it. Just let it do its thing. It'll fizzle out. Now we've gone the upper arms. We're going to run. Your forearms have 2 bones in them, the radius and the ulna. We're going to try and feel both of those split out around and come together again at the wrists. So again, what we've talked about is we're going to come down the arms into the wrists again. 2 points above, 2 points below. Both sides. We're just doing the back part of it right now. Now as we're going to breathe in, exhale, and we're going to move to now the inside part of the wrist. So again, 2 above, 2 below, getting into the sort of heel of the palm, both sides. once you get a little more practice on this, you can go faster through the things and sort of, get the same relaxation of a long session in a shorter amount of time. The more practice you get, the more awareness you build through your body. Or you can take an even longer time building up the resilience and endurance. Really get crazy with some of that relaxation. And then there are other things you can do to build on top of that, but sometimes it gets a little heavy, and we're not gonna get into that super heavy right now. But we are going to move down to the backs of the hands. So those 4 points are going to kind of come together in one and bring up and in and radiate through the back of the hand and through here first. Both sides, both hands. From the back of the hand, we're going to move into the center of the palms. So you already have that kind of hollow. We're just going to allow that to kind of focus in on what's going to have for that. Sorry if that was a little abrupt break there. There was something that I kind of couldn't let go of as my cat jumped through the screen onto the little deck porch that jumped through the hole in the screen that the raccoons and other animals had made. And she's not capable of surviving if she can't get back in or falls off, as I'm not on the first floor, or there is almost literally anything out there. So I apologize if that was like a weird little cut or hiccup there. We are into the hands, we're into the palms, and we're going to move through the fingers now. As we move through the fingers, it's going to be like the ones we did before. So each finger has a base knuckle that goes into the hand. I'll call that the base. Then there's the sort of main hingy guy. We'll call that the middle. And then the top. I sometimes might, the way I think about it, might neglect this other sort of top knuckle, thinking everything kind of all at once in with that, because I have very sort of short, stout little fingers, like a paw. I have more of a paw, sort of square, wider, shorter. So these top knuckles don't really have a whole lot of movement on me. Other people can kind of really move them like they're that middle knuckle. But with this, I'll call out base, middle, top, and then tip for the absolute, actual fingertip itself. Not with the thumbs though, because the thumbs just have that little guy in there. And we're going to start with the thumbs, and we're going to start at the base knuckles for the thumbs. Move to the middle knuckles. And then the tip and top of the thumbs. onto the index fingers, so are the base knuckles. Middle knuckles. Top knuckles. And tips. We go to the second fingers with the base knuckles. Middle knuckles. Top knuckles. And tips. Go to the third or ring fingers at the base knuckles. Middle. Top knuckles. And tips. And the last fingers, or the quote-unquote pinkies, the base knuckles. And the middle knuckles. Top knuckles. And the tippy tops of the pinkies. Definitely the most masculine, tough guy thing I've said in a long time. So that's the whole arms. We got the head, the neck, the traps, the shoulders, and arms. I'm just going to kind of take a breath. Make sure that all those areas are sort of linked in together. Review those sections, as it were. Because we're going to go back up to that jugular notch, so that little hollow at the bottom of the throat, where the clavicles or collarbones meet. I'm going to go there and just hold for a moment. And from there, we're going to inhale. And as we exhale, slowly come down the sternum. There's that chest bone right down the middle of the chest. We're going to come down. And again, that's going to radiate as we go, the bones of the sort of ribs and upper ribs and chest as they kind of come out, radiate from the sternum and come down, relaxing the pecs as we go. There's this sort of upper, middle, and lower as well with that too. So all that's going to relax, almost like we did with the muscles in the neck, sort of radiate down with as we come down with the bone. At the very bottom of the sternum, where it sort of splits off, and behind that is a xiphoid process. We're going to go, and it's sort of like that hollow. So my sternum kind of ends here, and just a little bit below that is that hollow. We're going to Bring all that relaxation down and then focus in on that hollow for a moment. Sort of that solar plexus area right by the stomach. Okay, we're going to split off again now and split two separate ways. We inhale. And as we exhale, we're going to follow the frame of the ribs as it splits out and down the abdomen. So we've got the obliques that come here, rectus abdominis, and we're going to come down that and around, so the ribs follow around and come up. So we're going to follow that, relaxing the muscles through the obliques and with the abs as they come down, the lower parts as well, as we come down, and then we're going to go up. So we're going to follow that frame up. There's a lot going on in that sort of area. There's a lot of different muscles in it. The big wing muscles, latissimus dorsi, and this sort of like upper part of that wing that's sort of coming off of the shoulder on the sides. You got the teres muscles, major, minor. Vater scapular closer in the center of the back, and those rhomboids in between the shoulder blades. So as we come up the back, those rhomboids is where we're going to go. So we're going to go right now the insides of the scapula, our shoulder blades. We're going to tie in what we've already relaxed in that sort of bottom part of the neck and the traps. What I usually like to do is I'll actually run a sort of relaxation check down on the insides of my scapula, because I found out that I tend to have a lot of places along those lines where I'll store knots. It's almost like a bean. You open up like a green bean or a vanilla bean, and there's the seeds down along the pod. That's kind of sometimes what my scapula will do, or the inside of that will do. So I'm going to relax through that specifically first. We're going to come down the insides of the scapula. And then again, through that whole area in between. We are going to take a few breaths in here. So again, this really gets a lot of tension in some people. And then the sort of three functions of the muscles around the spine to sort of wrap around, come from the spine and out and around, be able to sort of come in and sort of hug the spine, as well as work up and down. And we want to make sure that all those functions are unimpeded. Okay, from there, kind of come to the outside of the scapula. those teres muscles that kind of ripple down. So this is, my scapula on this side is kind of the muscles that kind of do this. And over here is the shoulder, and the trap kind of comes along. There's the sort of upper back muscles here, and then the lats are going to come down like that and V-taper down. But first we're going to get those teres muscles. I know we're going into some serious time here, and I warned you about that. Sometimes it's necessary to get all that extra work in. It's been a long couple months with lockdowns going on, and people have got a lot of anxiety, and even if individuals are generally pretty chill about stuff, you can't help but sort of feel the anxiety that's kind of going on and everything around you, and it's good to just kind of clear that out. Gyms are opening up like tomorrow or something crazy like that, so maybe get a little extra deep tissue healing before we start tearing stuff up again. Now we're going to come down the lats, so those kind of wide wings that kind of come out and taper down into near the hips. Like I said, this is more full, a little more detailed than the one I have out before. It used to take me longer than this to get to sleep, even with using this, and then eventually over time I started cutting the time shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and now I pretty much am out within 5 minutes. So long as I'm maintaining training and my training meditation practices through the week. I might have a little bit of a shorter training thing for a day or two, maybe 20-30 minutes instead of 40 to an hour. Maybe one day in 3 or 4 or something I might accidentally, or because lots going on, missing a sitting session. But this will still help me be able to fall asleep and stay asleep, which was also something that was very difficult for me to do. I still have bouts. Everyone still kind of has bouts of stuff. We have cycles we go through, but the majority of the time, fall asleep fast and stay asleep, which for a long time did not happen. So now we're done with the lats. We're going to come back up to that cervical notch at the bottom of the neck. We're going to walk down the remainder of the 24 vertebrae. And again, vertebra and disc, vertebra and disc. And don't forget that sort of radiant relaxation for the muscles on either side of the spine. Again, those muscles we want to be able to have full range of motion, relaxation, to be able to wrap around, to be able to hug in, and to move up and down. is called the thoracic spine. And we even have here where the chest and the abdomen meet called the thoracic hinge. Where you can move the chest one way and the abdomen another, or keep that anchored in one or the other. In internal martial arts, we want to keep that together, the hips and the shoulders lined up, and that whole trunk piece moving as one. We do not want to bind up that thoracic hinge. There's one Qigong movement that I know that does, and that's basically so it'll help massage the liver, which is kind of, it's the right side. So this is like stomach and like spleen. Here's my left side. Liver and pancreas are kind of over here. But with the internal Gong Fu, the martial arts aspect, that whole area is one piece. Here we're treating the spine as one piece, but it's individual parts as well. So cervical is the neck, thoracic is the top part. We go down the lower back or lumbar spine as it starts to kind of get that little curve in. A lot of place of sort of back pain and tension. I know for me, I've got a damaged place in through there, and that will affect things like pinching in my sciatic nerve down either leg or both. That was fun. So keeping this area relaxed and healthy and toned is very important. I also figured out that whatever knee problems I was having comes from this area as well. It's all connected. So as the lumbar spine goes lower, we get into now the sacral spine, which is the tailbone and a couple of the vertebrae, plural, above that. So we're going to move through the tailbone now into the perineum, that lowest point on the torso. So again, we're just going to kind of run a check here. Head, neck, traps, shoulders, arms, hands, chest, obliques, all the varying parts of the back, all relaxed, all through. As we go through, again, we're in the perineum, so we're going to go in and split back out into the hips. So again, the legs are going to be treated like the arms. So while we're in the hips, into the actual ball and socket joint, we're still going to relax in through the glutes. And the very upper part of the thighs. So we got the hamstrings in the back, quadriceps in the front. There's other muscles that kind of wrap around on both sides as well, where all those are going to meet in with the hip and the glutes. We're going to relax all those all at one time with that as well. So we're going to roll down the femurs, which are those thigh bones. We're going to go a little slower than we did with the humerus because there's so much more muscle and meat packed in with the thighs. I don't know if any of you have work out or martial arts training. Every day is leg day if you're a martial artist. It's the sort of one area of my body that can sort of pack on muscle well and sort of keep it on and do well with it. The rest of my body just sort of, I don't want to have muscle. I don't want to have a healthy weight. Oh, you stopped working out for like 2 days. I'm going to cannibalize and get super skinny, lose a bunch of weight again. My thighs, on the other hand, are like, nope, none of your pants are going to fit right ever again. You will never find perfect pants ever again. And as we roll down that, we're going to go into the knees. And the knees we're going to treat again like the elbows. So this time we're going to start on the outside. 2 points above the knee. Kneecap is the patella. 2 points above. 2 points below. You can actually kind of feel that hollow in with the patella in there. Don't move it around. But you can almost sort of see the points if you kind of don't flex. But you can see that. Again, I say don't flex right now because I do not like the whole tense to relax. I don't believe that that works personally, because you're just teaching yourself to just go to sort of normal state. You're still creating extra tension. So I don't understand the tense to relax paradigm. You relax to relax. Because all you're doing otherwise, you tense to relax. You're just going to the normal state you were before you tensed. And it might not be relaxed. So just relax to relax. Don't tense. But later on, if you're working out or stretching or anything, you might notice those points. So again, that's both knees. The 4 points above and below the patella. Don't worry, I'm not going to get weird with stretching my leg out to show everything. Just wanted to show that one part there. Because we're going to go to the back of the knee now. And again, 4 points. This is actually going to be just on the inside. If you kind of have the knee, and there's those two kind of tendons that come out into the calves. So it's going to be just on the inside of that tendon on both the upper and lower part of the knee. Again, 4 points. Relaxing in through that. I know we're getting close to an hour. If there are points that you need to pause and kind of readjust or twist something out, or maybe do like a Buddhist training and mindful walking about your space. Okay. Just be careful that you're not building in back into sort of tensing up things that you've already relaxed. If you do have to do that and you sit back down, run through everything again before you hit play and get everything back to kind of where you were before you paused. If you're lying down and everything's groovy, I hope you're staying awake. At least just through running through it. If your idea is to fall asleep eventually, that's fine. If you're just using this to help you fall asleep after a while too, I guess this is the one time that it's kind of cool that I don't know if that means I was interesting and did my job or I was really boring. Either way. But we are going to move on through the tibia and fibia, the bones in your shins like the bones in your forearms. Your soleus and I think it's a gastrocnemius or gastrocnemius muscles through the calves that you're going to relax as you run down through the tibia and fibia. We go down through that nice and easy, nice and smooth. As we get into the ankle, we're going to relax those sort of Achilles tendons as well. But the ankles here aren't sort of top and bottom like the wrists are. The ankles are sort of outside, inside. And you have the ball of the ankle through here. We're going to go top and bottom on the outside first. So the outside ankles, top and bottom, kind of square up the points around the ankle. And get that whole sort of outside, that sort of Achilles tendon and outside areas, and around a little bit, wrapping around as it comes into the foot as well. You can get all that at once. Again, both sides. We're also going to move on now. And you can almost take those points, if this is the outside of the ankle and you're doing those points here, kind of push them through. I know it sounds weird, but you can kind of push them through where they kind of go in with the foot, that sort of hinge in with the foot, and to activate and open and relax the mirror points on the inside of the ankle. And again, from that Achilles tendon and that inside area around, and as it goes into the foot. Okay, and we're going to move over as we inhale. Exhale down through the top of the foot. There's tons of little tendons and ligaments, small bones. You sort of got the carpals and metacarpals in with the wrists and the hand, the tarsals and metatarsals in with the ankles and the feet, and a lot of stuff that helps regulate balance and our mobility and our strength through there. So we want to treat all that nice. Try and feel the layers of the different tendons and bones and muscles and ligaments and all the little stuff in there in the top of the foot. I apologize for having to wipe around my mouth. There's a couple cat hairs that are getting stuck in my stubble. And it would be very incongruous to the mood I'm trying to set if I was to start hacking and coughing or choking due to them. That's got to be a weird ASMR. Another few seconds here with the top of the foot. Again, the feet are really kind of complicated and very important. So we're going to move on. I'm going to come around the back and sort of wrap around the back heel and the whole sort of heel ball of the foot. Or the whole heel sort of ball. So I'm going to keep my socks on because no one needs to see feet. Sorry, Quentin Tarantino. So we're going to come around, and this whole section of the ball of the foot, that whole thing we're going to go, and again, being mindful that it's probably, I believe it's the hardest bone in the body, takes the most sort of impact. Even just walking, even if you don't run, it takes sort of a lot of punishment every day. So we're going to really get in there and let that whole area relax and release. As we pay attention to the heel, I also want to remind everyone, as we are coming to a close with this here soon, I want to remind everyone that it's a good idea that when you practice this, especially if you practice this consistently, to make darn sure you are hydrated. Because what this practice will do is you open up those knots and blockages and the space between ligaments and tendons and muscle, and you get a lot of blood flow into places that maybe don't always have a lot of blood flow. There's probably going to be things built up, maybe toxins, maybe just stuff that's been built up even by the body and kind of stored, and you want to get rid of that. So you want to be really hydrated and be able to help flush the system, especially if you're new to this practice and or you haven't done it in a while, and you're not used to relaxing things, and maybe you feel pretty good, things are opening, or maybe you've had some breakthroughs. You do this a lot, and now you're able to have some like kind of cool things pop open and break through. Maybe you had some sort of rush of emotion or sort of a rush of sort of images and helping with sort of subconscious shadow work or something, but that's all still stuff physically in the body that got opened up and released, and you want to flush that stuff out. So stay hydrated. It's good anyway. It's helpful when you got this going on too. So we're going to move down. I'm sorry for showing you my besocked feet again, but it helps to show. So here's my heel. Here's a point right in front of my heel. Here's the middle of my foot. This is my ball of the foot. And in the middle of this pad and just below it is another hollow. These 3 points are called the bubbling wells. Now these are very sort of important, basically like nerve clusters. Even if you don't want to talk about acupuncture or acupressure or anything like that, there's nerve clusters in there. And as you walk, you can help massage those areas. If the walking or the gait is somehow sort of not that great, I'm pigeon-toed, for example. I've seen other people who are duck-footed. I've seen other people who sort of, I do walk heavy heel-toe, which sometimes isn't great in the winter. But people who really kind of slam and slap their feet or something like that, do everything but sort of walk appropriately, those are going to kind of get shocked. And as we try and do in Taiji, especially Taiji, because Xingyi and Bagua more sort of skim. But in Taiji, we do sort of go heel, lay down the foot. And what we're doing is we're doing that, or if you have one-legged stances, and there's the kind of movement you have with one-legged stances or even yoga postures, you're massaging and activating those points on the feet. Other points on the feet too, those are kind of the big ones. That's my understanding, at least. There'll be other people who would say no, or I'm full of it, or I don't know. It's my understanding of it. Seems to work okay for me. But you're helping to massage those points, and those points and the nerve clusters they go can help read through back in the whole rest of the body. So as you're going in and walking and resetting maybe how you walk and paying attention to that. That's helping light up positively then the nerves throughout the rest of the body. Getting to have those areas a point of focus and attention and relaxing and releasing those four conditions and everything else like that is going to help activate those and release those. And that's going to help the sort of neurological health back up in through the rest of the body. So there's a lot of sort of punishment the feet go through. That's why sort of foot massages can be, if done well and appropriately, can apparently, I've been told, and I'm not getting into anything else, but they can have it where that gives it almost sometimes even a euphoric feeling through the body because there's that sort of damage and knots and things get sort of released. And again, drink water, get that flushed out. But this can kind of help you do that without having to have anyone touch your feet. So we're going to move on to the balls of the feet. So where the big toe, it's almost sort of like the base for the thumb. But I'm going to give an extra sort of point to not only here, and then we're going to move on to the middle. But at first I want to do that point there. And one of the reasons for that, if people are martial artists or athletes, you might have something called mat toe or turf toe, as I do, which is apparently never ever going to heal. But that area kind of can get in a lot of pain sometimes. That foot kind of hyperextends or jams or gets caught on a mat or the turf of a field and can kind of permanently give us sort of I can't think of the word I'm looking for because congenital is not right because that would be more genetic. But it's something that it doesn't fully clear up, so we're going to give that a little bit of extra relaxation. So if you have that, I'm sorry, believe me, I feel your pain. This can kind of help start alleviating that, or if you've had that activated, can help start. I'm feeling cold through mine right now because I know in the past couple weeks I've really sort of activated that pain a few times, been hiking a lot or running or something, and it's really sort of a few times. So I can feel that release and that sort of coolness spread through that area. If you don't have that, getting things to relax and getting the blood flow in there, blood flow in there, may be able to help it so you don't develop that, which would be good. And then we're also going to spread that relaxation through the rest of the pad of the feet as well. Now I want to go through the toes like we did fingers, only we don't have to really worry about that sort of upper knuckle. It'll just be, I'll just call out base, middle, and top. Top being, if this is my big toe, like that whole nail top tip section. But I don't at least have, or I guess kind of technically a little bit, but we're just going to go that whole top piece. So we're going to start the base knuckle and the big toe. Remember both sides. That feels good where I hurt. I got that turf toe. I guess in my case it'd be mat toe, but same thing. Middle knuckle, big toes. And out through the this is through our whole body we're getting now. So we can almost kind of take whatever else might be sort of there and squeeze it out like the last bits of toothpaste. Release it out. So we're going to the second toe. I guess it's, if I remember correctly, it's the piggy that stayed home. We went through the base, we went through the middle. And now through the top. And the middle toe. At the base. Through the middle. And out the top. Now we move to the little piggy that had none, the fourth one, if I'm remembering that correctly. At the base knuckles. And through the middle. And the very tops. So last one. Little pinky toe at the base. Middle. And the top. Now, if you want to be done here, by all means, well done, and thank you for joining. Hope this helps. Again, this was the sort of longer version, getting into some maybe parts that don't get as much attention, maybe get a little overlooked. Some places that are more specific, like the sort of four corner dots in the different joints. I hope this helps, and again, you can use it anywhere, at any time, for anything. You know, if I have bad test anxiety, so if you have test anxiety, this can help you take tests. It can help you fall asleep. It can help you chill out. You know, if you can run through it quickly, like maybe before you start driving, or if you're nervous on a date, or, you know, you feel anxiety rising, you feel even asthma rising, or migraines. I'm just trying to give examples that I know specifically for me this has helped with. There are some other things I can't really speak to, but I know it's generally helped other people, but in my experience. with that, new situations, or even if you're out. I'm pretty introverted, and sometimes if there's like a lot of people, it just starts really triggering like panic attacks. Not necessarily agoraphobic, it's just I don't like being around a lot of people, and or if the sort of energy of the place is really sort of scattered and all over the place, that doesn't help. It's going to kind of help you again with the stay and return meditation, sinking in that lower dantian and running through your body. That can help relax it. It also is good to know and will help give you insight and feeling into when your body's telling you certain things about your emotions. Oh, I'm holding tension in here. Am I stressed? Am I angry? But it gives you clues into those emotions that you can use as well to help release that and help you function in a more healthy fashion, as opposed to just sort of letting all that stuff build up and letting you get to a 10 easier. This can help you bring you, if you're at a 7 or 8 usually, it can help bring you back to maybe a 4 or 3 or something, so you can function better. And I don't necessarily mean be productive, function better, but just function better in a healthier state for yourself. If you want to do the bonus round, we're going to do a bonus round, so to speak, where I'm not going to necessarily work on activating or opening the chakras, because that's a different thing. There's a rooting that needs to be done with that correctly. There are people who just jump right into messing around with chakras and dantians and all that other stuff that aren't rooted well enough and don't have enough sort of training in how to do it right. It messes them up on a whole different sort of realm of things in one way or the other. So I'm not doing that. What I do want to do is run down that sort of center line inside the body. So you're really getting that deep, now inside the body relaxation as well. So I'm going to start at the crown of the head. Again, this is bonus round. You don't have to do this, or you don't have to do any of this, but if you've already done the rest, you do not have to do this too. So we're going to start at the very crown of the head and going back to the crown. And again, just let it release. Whatever you do to have it release. I'm going to come down from the crown, but we're going to go the center in the body and let it just slowly relax down, almost like you ever see those commercials for like hot fudge sundaes and it's all slow motion, and the hot fudge is just slowly sort of pouring down the ice cream. Man, that was an unfortunate choice of visualizations for me right now. But that's the sort of just slow moving, coming down the center line inside the body. And don't worry about activating anything. Don't worry about opening anything too much or spinning anything, or just let that relaxation come down. We're going through the head, through the inside of the neck and throat, down slowly through the center of the chest. So in between the lungs, kind of brushing past the heart, because the heart is off center slightly to the left. And we're coming down past that area, kind of through the stomach a little bit and solar plexus. Kind of going through all those small intestines and stuff down in the center. Basically going to be going through the dantian as well. And down through the lowest point of the body, just that connecting place between the hips, all that lowest point of the body, the perineum, just all that now inside relaxes as well. You might even be able to feel that sort of warmth or that relaxation sort of radiate out from some of those points and some that center line as well. That's okay, just let it relax. Again, don't mess with opening up anything that you haven't been taught to open up with or spin or move correctly. Just getting things to relax. Okay. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to describe it first, and I'm going to do it because I'm going to have to remove my headset. So I'm going to rub my palms. I go with 36 times. It's sort of an auspicious number. I'm going to place my hands, palms on the eyes. I'm going to rub up my head, back down the back, and past the jaw 3 times. Then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my whole body and just pat it down. It's not slapping it. I'm not picking at it, just lightly. Just sort of tap down the body. What this is doing here is if any energy is sort of moving around or getting trapped in the head, it's being able to get it to filter back in through the body. And the tapping helps kind of keep everything kind of up and awake and moving and all that. And all this stuff that we've got opening up and moving, we're going to make sure it keeps on being circulated. Because circulated is not a word. So I'm going to begin here. Take my headset off for just a moment. Don't forget your feet. I hope you're clean. Anyway, so that is that. The full, long version of the Red Pine Progressive Meditation, and a little bit of bonus for you as well. My nose looks weird. Hope it's the lighting, or it's half my face collapsing. Either one. So, I hope that helps. I hope that works. And it's a great thing to do. The more you practice it, the more competent you can get with it, and the easier it is, and you can kind of get an hour and a half worth of relaxation in much less time. And it is a skill that can be trained and practiced, and you become much more adept at it. So now maybe if you do a sitting 40-minute meditation session, what takes you almost an hour and a half here maybe to do, you can do in like maybe a 5-minute thing. And then, the more you do it, and if you just do this longer, you get deeper and deeper into it. And again, you can adapt it in a whole bunch of other stuff too. So it's a nice little kind of tool to have, and a skill to develop as well. And again, it also will help be able to identify different emotional stuff in the body too. It kind of gives you clues to that. So again, I hope this all helps. Thank you for staying with me for this whole time. If you did, if you didn't, thanks for giving any part of it a checkup and at all. And good luck. And well, have a good night.